Welcome in everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFQ Refugees podcast. Ted here, John here. We are finally made it. Feels like maybe we never left, but it's been an interesting offseason, I'd say the least. But we're finally almost here. We're almost here to some MLS games. Before we get into that, John, how you doing, my friend? How was your weekend?
This is the little behind the scenes thing for everybody listening. Right now, it's Sunday, February 18th, and it's still the weekend. We're doing this on a late Sunday night. How was it? It was good. I don't think, what did I do? It was like the last weekend before soccer. I watched a lot of college baseball. That's like there's like a period before spring training starts where there's college baseball, and I watch a whole bunch of it, and then I never watch any of it again once Major League Baseball is available to me. So I'm like, oh, college baseball, sweet. Yeah, that's about it. I don't know. What about you? Did you get anything fun this weekend?
Nothing actually really fun. It was kind of a quiet weekend, watching soccer, hanging out, and trying to get ready for the MLS season. I'm excited for it. We've had some CONCACAF Champions Cup games have started. I feel like that's like the first real kickoff when you start seeing those games, and we'll have some this week as well, along with the start of the season on Wednesday. So I'm excited.
No more weeks off for us, Ted. We're back to full. Yeah, every week forever until the end of time, and then Patreon every other week.
Woo! So if you missed us, we'll go ahead and drop this. This Sunday night we'll carry into the first weekend of the season as well. So we will probably record Sunday night. I have to travel Monday, and so I will be unable to record Monday night. I think that was the situation for John this week. So we'll get back to your live shows. We know you guys. You guys love the live shows. You love to drop us into the chat. But yeah, man, we're going back to week. We got the season starting. We got games to talk about. We haven't been able to see any DC United preseason games. I held out hope this past weekend that maybe MLS was going to be trialing some of the more broadcasts, but I guess they got that all figured out.
They did that last year, so they know where to plug in all of the wires and whatnot. So it's whatever. But I don't know if we're going to talk about this. Like we've seen no games, and like the very little bit of video we've seen, we're both like, oh, this is not good. I wish we had seen no video. I don't want to have seen this little bit of video that we have.
Well, there was some good to start against the Sudanese national team.
Oh yeah, you're right. We should have just done that one game. That's the only games we should have done. That's our level.
We'll get into it in a minute. I'm not, I don't know how this year is going to go. It's very up in the air. I
remember what last bit of preseason like results conversation. I remember back in the day, like a long time ago, when you could see all these games. Usually there was a correlation between them doing really poorly in the season if they did great in preseason and vice versa. And then all of a sudden it decorrelated and it would just be bad. Like it didn't make a difference. Like that's just been like since 2011 or 2012. There's been some rogue good seasons in there, but typically it's just been bad all the way through. They've not gone like 4-0 and 5-0 in preseason in a long time. That used to be like the forbearance of a season, but not anymore.
Hey man, 2010 Carolina Challenge Cup champions, whatever that tournament was called in South Carolina.
The Coffee Pot Cup champions.
Yeah, they won the Coffee Pot Cup, and that was like the only trophy they won that year because they were awful. But yeah, I agreed. I mean, I think it still holds true that preseason results don't always mean. I guess I'm a little worried. I think back to last preseason. I think Ted Kudu-Pietro really like emerged onto the scene. And that was kind of maybe an indication of, he's here to play. He's ready to go. Jackson Hopkins the year before that earned himself a contract for his performance during the preseason. My biggest concern is I don't know whether we've had that right now. And I don't know if it's a nature of the team, trying, and I think Troy Saints talked about it a little bit. And we'll get into it in a minute. But I mean, it seems like he's very much wanting this team to sort of, regardless of how these preseason games go, we're sticking to our plan. I want you guys to get comfortable in this system. When we have a real game or we have a couple games, maybe we'll adjust a little bit or maybe we'll go against some of that. But right now, I don't really care.
That's a guy not being judged on results. So that's why you can say that. And that's fine for what this team is right now. Fine. Mm-hmm. Great.
And what this team is trying to do. And we'll get into that. But let's start with we've got a signing to talk about.
Yeah. Yes, indeed we do.
Maybe not an exciting signing. I know there's been a lot of people, decrying.
I call them a creative player signing. An auto-generated name.
Diving into the scouting. It's when you hit the scout button and you go for like the 2-3s. Connor Antley, center back / right back, wing back for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. He terms were not disclosed. I don't know if it was a financial parts were exchanged.
Terms. So he's got a 2-year. Well, the contract at least was disclosed. He's got a
2-year contract.
Is it a 2-year with a option?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it'd be for 2024, 2025. So
I
would have maybe liked a year, but maybe he would have said, "No, I'll stay in Tampa. Give me at least 2 years guaranteed on that contract before I come." What I'm more curious is whether the team paid any sort of transfer fee to Tampa Bay. A lot of these USL teams, there's a reason they don't get transfer fees is because they have something in their contract that says, hey, if an MLS team comes hunting, you have to basically release me for free. It's becoming less common now, but I think maybe in Connor's situation that might have been on his contract. But so it was very, I think Stephen Goff's posted undisclosed transfer terms. It seems to me that if there was a transfer fee exchanged, it would have said it. So, I think this is sort of representative of the team needs depth. We've learned now that Steve Birnbaum is out for at least 3 to 4 weeks. The team needs depth. They have no depth behind Aaron Herrera. They have Pedro Santos behind Mohamed Yaz, but then that's really it. So this team was desperate for depth. That being said, based on everything we've heard, and again, we do not watch the USL, the guy that runs, and I really should credit his name. And in fact, John, I'm going to let you maybe jump in while I go find the guy's name.
I want to make sure
John. Yes,
I know that much. I think what we should have just done is traded them a Hayden Sargis. Like that's sort of what this was. Like he's the new Hayden Sargis. Like, all right, well maybe this will work, and then it didn't, and then we got a new one. Maybe this will work. But to your point, he's a body. He exists, and that's really what he's got going for him. I think right now. Did you find it yet?
And to state, it's that he's a body. He is USL, and certainly that doesn't always translate.
John Morrissey, by the way, is his name.
John Morrissey, thank you. So that doesn't always translate. To MLS, it is a step up, certainly, but I think there's still plenty of avenues, and it's not like they're getting a guy, somebody. I think like Hayden Sargis was kind of maybe a guy with some potential that maybe there'll be something here. And
he was starting. Ironically, John Morrissey was an analytics guy for both Sacramento Republic and Tampa Bay. So it is no wonder that he had a lot to say about this player because he probably watched him at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think that this guy is, I guess, the finished article by age. He's been here a little while. You know what to get out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, we shouldn't spend too much time. If this guy is on the field, like if this guy's playing major minutes, we don't want that. That's not necessarily what we want with this signing. I
he's
think.
Good. I mean, if he's good, yeah, we'll see. I agree with you. I think he's depth. I'm not sure the plan is for him to really play. If he's starting, then yes, it means Aaron Herrera has suffered a tremendous,
which is not good,
a horrific injury, and
because we paid a lot of money for him.
Yes, we did. So I'll walk that back. I think he's there, but he is. Just to give some stats that he dropped. If you go check him out on Twitter. I believe he writes for backheel.com. He is 82% on percentile in expected goals, 82 percentile in expected assists. He's a guy who likes to push forward. So he's a player. They showed a nice little clip of him sort of starting a counterattack from all the way from the back and then sort of pushing it up into the attack. And so he's a guy who certainly likes to get forward. And I think at the very least he seems like a good fit as far as what this team is trying to do with pressing, with trying to win the ball, to move forward, to move quickly. So I think for that he's a fit. Whether he's good or not, we'll see.
I like that his expected assists are at the very top of the grid, and he had 3 assists. But that's because he played it as a center back. But he also, I mean, obviously he can play a right back too. But if he does more than not, then you want to see that number a little bit higher, probably. Yeah. So they probably mixed him around last year.
Yeah, and I think versatility is also probably a big part of this.
It's the Drew Skendrich. You gotta have you traded Chris Durkin. You don't have any more Swiss Army knives. You need more guys that you can put in 5 positions.
Yeah, so I think right now he the depth suits the right wing back position, but we'll see what happens with the other ones. And we're looking at a 4-man back line. I think I thought maybe we might see a 3-man back line. But based on, I'd say the last game, it looks like we're sticking with the 4-man with a 4-3-2 or 4-2-3-1. I think is what we're looking at this season. Other squad updates that maybe we weren't around. Brandon Parrish, who was their second-round draft pick, I believe.
Clemson, maybe?
Yep, out of Clemson, not offered a contract after spending the time with the team in Saudi Arabia. Graham Jones, is returning to the academy, but could still be a homegrown signing. Again, we already talked about injury updates. And I guess anything we want to drop there, it's who knows?
Nope.
Who knows about either of those two players? Steve Birnbaum with the injury updates, out 3 to 4 weeks had knee surgery.
Scope.
So we'll see what that is. And Russell Canals also doubtful for the home opener.
He's confirmed out, by the way. Russell Canals is now confirmed out for the opener and maybe subsequent weeks as well with an ankle.
Yep. So now we get Matty Patola.
Hope he's ready. He's ready. You're into the frying pan for sure. I think I said on the Friday show, like, we obviously put the hex on Canals by saying, man, he had an Iron Man season last year, like, and then the first opportunity to play is like, oh, he's out, he's hurt.
Yeah,
not.
Yeah, I don't know what we think. Steve Birnbaum out. I mean, a lot of fans, you talk to them, they'll say,
wait till you hear my prediction for 2024 around Steve Birnbaum.
Ooh, here we go. But Steve Birnbaum out. You got to think, this is, you're going to have probably Christopher McVay and Bartlett, I'm going to guess, are going to be the center back pairing. Mattea Camboni in there, we'll get into a little bit. You got him from the last preseason game from the highlights we've been able to see. Again, let's go and jump into it. Preseason game, 2-0 loss to FC Dallas. I know Paul Arriola had the second goal.
Goal and an assist for Paul.
Yeah, the team. Okay, again, we're looking at before a certain Discord member gets upset at us. Yes, we know we are looking at video coverage. We don't get a chance to see the whole game. I think we saw like one potential chance that DC United had, in which Pirani, was it a shot or a cross? Who knows? But it somehow found. I couldn't tell who was on the end of it. I guess on the other end, but as John apparently has someone upstairs.
I've got I don't know what's going on. Something's going on. 7:00 is not our normal recording hour, so the whole house is awake and things are happening. Sorry.
Fair enough. But yeah. But I think one thing we noticed from the videos is, and one thing I'm taking away is I think this team might struggle a little bit handling like a quick transition team. And I think that's what we saw in this game is, the first goal, I'm going to go ahead and guess that the DC had some sort of set play, either a free kick, corner kick, something like that, because there were no, I believe it was Herrera and the new guy, Antley, sort of tracking back. But there wasn't any defenders that I could see. McVay wasn't there. Bartlett wasn't there. They were probably all pushed up to try to win a header on a set piece. And the team got completely burned and caught out. Very nicely worked goal. But yeah, that didn't look good.
Aren't you so excited that starting next Saturday, we're going to be able to draw conclusions on actual non-Zapruder like cell phone coverage of a one angle behind the goal, and we're going to draw conclusions. We're going to do some analysis. But no, I mean, I'm very excited to actually watch this team play. And I'm not feeling super confident. I think Birnbaum being hurt is going to be a big problem with this back line. We got 4 new guys that are just sort of figuring out where they put their keys and, where the locker room is. But, it's here, so we can at least be happy about that. But this game, I think the only thing you can draw from this probably is that is likely our first choice lineup. What you saw as the 11 there is what we're probably going to see, barring injuries, against New England on Saturday. I would suspect.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think it also is an indication. I think Stroud started sort of on that right side, sort of and then it was sort of you talk about the 4-2-3-1. You had, Matty Peltola and Mateus Click kind of in that sort of that holding midfield role. I imagine Peltola is probably going to occupy a lot of that sort of defensive side of the ball, sort of the Canals role, and then Click will be able to sort of have more freedom to push forward. Stroud also appears to be that he has sort of won the right wing back spot the right side spot. So he won it from Martin Rodriguez. And I think that's significant because you're talking about, there are certain players on this roster, Dahomey, Rodriguez. Dahomey also could have been an option as well. Where are they going to fit into this team, or how are they even going to be on the roster or considered being on
Martin's
the roster?
a left-sided player, right?
You might be right.
I think he would be over there. I think the question is like, there was, how do you get, Pirani and Ted Cudi-Pietro and Benteke and Rodriguez and somebody like in that, and that's, I guess what they're going to do. Stroud, I feel like Stroud winning that spot is not altogether exciting. I think Stroud, I think last year in St. Louis had 10 goal contributions, which is great. I think that's a high for him. It's certainly not. It's like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's like I don't want to stop bringing up Ulysses Segura and Drew Skundrich, but it's like where you find this player who is like not going to wow anybody. He's not. You're not gonna be like, on a winning team, this guy is not the star, but you want to have a guy that you can depend that he's going to be a 7 out of 10 no matter what. I feel like maybe that's him, and I think that there isn't enough depth on the wings either side to really turn our nose up at that. I guess it's just not exciting. It's just not like, when we saw that trade happen, you're like, well, he's good depth, great, good. Jared Stroud will be good, and then he's like, oh no, he's going to start game 1. All right, well, that's fine.
Yeah, so I again, we could get some curveballs. I think maybe they're also. I'd be curious to see. I believe Antley started that game. I'm wondering if that was just, we need to see some minutes. We need to see what we have with him. We need to see where he might fit. I think it was interesting that he was out there and not, Mohamed Jazz.
I think Jazz is still not fully fit.
Yeah, it's possible.
They said they were bringing him along slowly in camp. It would not surprise me at all if he's not ready to go. And it's not about. I mean, maybe. I hope. That's better. It's better if the guy that you're paying like the highest left back salary in the league is available after last year, but maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, I think basically if they are going with a 4-2-3-1 and they do have Yaz out there and they do have Herrera out there, I think you're going to see both Stroud and Ted Kudu-Pieter obviously are going to play very narrow, and then they're going to sort of play narrow, and then they're going to sort of use their wing backs to kind of give them width. So sort of similar to, kind of what we saw in the Hernan Losada days of, with Kevin Paredes out there and I forget, Joseph Mora, maybe just getting your width from your wing backs, then you can kind of play through the middle. So we'll see. We actually have a game to walk about. We're not going to be speculating anymore.
It's so great. So I wish we had Joseph Mora still, by the way.
Yeah, he's in Costa Rica right now.
He is, and starting. Yeah. He's very dependable. He was always very. Think about like if you had him as your second choice left back on this team right now, you'd be like, sick. I'm feeling good about that. I'm feeling good. And then instead, we're like Jayaz and Pedro Santos.
Let's get into what we can preview about this home opener. Again, I don't think maybe there were some Revolution preseason games we could have watched, but
we're not going to do that either. Come on, guys. Get out of here.
But some interesting, new coach, Caleb Porter, steps in. I think the general consensus is that the Revolution still think this is their window. You're not bringing in Caleb Porter to rebuild or do anything. He's just there to do a solid job. Obviously, the storyline from last year, I think, is missed opportunity. This team was, I don't want to say they were rolling along under Bruce Arena, but they were, I'd say, top.
They were top couple of the conference. They were doing quite all right, I think.
Yeah, they were doing well. And then, of course, the whole unbelievable story of whatever Bruce Arena said, which I don't know. I think at this point, we're just never going to know.
If he never comes back, we'll never know.
Yeah. So, and I think it seems like teams don't even want to touch that.
It does.
In a lot of ways. We'll see what happens. Summer, there might be some firings, might be some coaches gone. I think
he's getting the Bill Belichick treatment. He's the New England coach that has no job. That the seats, the musical chairs have gone, and he's still standing, just like Bruce Arena.
I will tell you, there is a coach on the hot seat in Atlanta. Shoot, I can't think of his name. I know we were looking to hire him as well. Can't think of him, but I think Atlanta's maybe a good shout out if things go really south there. They've also got a team that's in a window. Why can't I think of it? It'll come to me. Anyway, let's get back to this. Key departures for this team. They have Gustavo Bo and Omar Gonzalez. They also had a goalkeeper that they signed that was supposed to be the Petrovic replacement, and he never played a minute.
The goalkeeping coach hated him apparently and didn't talk to him the entire time he was there. I read an article by him. He's like, I don't know. I just practice. No one talks to me. I train on my own. By the way, the name that you're looking for there is Gonzalo Pineda.
Yeah, Gonzalo Pineda.
A name I also always forget. I don't know why. Again, we know that he interviewed here. We know that he played for the Sounders, and then my brain just gets rid of it.
If I was doing like an MLS specific prediction, I would have said like by the summer, by Copa America, Bruce Arena will be the head coach of Atlanta United after Gonzalo Pineda would be let go, because I think he is one of those coaches that is on the hot seat.
I think that's probably true.
But big departure, I think, is obviously Gustavo Bo. He's a massive goal scorer for them, massive player for them. But they do have some other players that come in. They have Henrik Ravas is going to be their new goalkeeper, so we're sort of dropping in, replacing them. They also grabbed Nick Lima and Tomas Shanagle, which I believe is one of their new players. Team again is in a championship window. I think they think this is still their year. They're still trying to make the best of what they can do with the window. They obviously one player, of course, I'm going to highlight is Carlos Gil. He is
still very good.
Still very, very, very good. Go look at his FB ref. Go look at his FB ref and then compare it to Gabriel Pirani, and you will see a world of difference. One thing that catches my eye, he is 99th percentile in shot creating actions. So I'm telling you, Pirani, you got to look at that because that's something you struggled with last season, and that's something you got to look to create. He's also 87th percentile in expected assist goals. He is a number 10 creator. He will be very, very difficult for this team to manage. He is, for all I know, he's healthy. And then you have Noel Buck, who's another player I highlighted. I believe he's 19 or 20, young guy for New England Revolution. Should, I think, probably potentially sold in the summer. I know there's been a lot of teams looking after them. 83rd percentile in tackles and 91st percentile in progressive carries. So he's a guy who likes to move the ball forward and push it forward. So
there's one other player that really we probably should be looking at. It's Esmir Bayraktarovic. I know that because I just looked at the pronunciation guide on their website. He was in the January camp. He got a couple minutes at the end of the season. They're very, very high in him as well. New England, they're not known for sort of their homegrowns historically, but they've got a couple good young players that they've signed. Noel Buck obviously has been in the consideration for the England, I think under 21 side. You've got Esmir. You've had every starting goalkeeper for New England basically get sold to a Premier League team basically in the last couple of years. So they just keep on recycling. I imagine the guy you're talking about here, this Ravas guy, is probably like, well, I'm clearly going to be Arsenal's goalkeeper in like a year or something if I just play here. That's how it works.
Or Chelsea, you never know.
Or Chelsea certainly could have some availability when they go down the championship. This is certainly, like you said, a team not in a rebuilding mode, a team that still very much imagines themselves in the conversation to win the Eastern Conference. And, I would be concerned at a team that, for the most part, other than Gustavo Bo, is the one player that I'm really concerned about missing. And I think everyone's kind of healthy. A team like us right now, where we have a wholesale new backline in place, and our starting defensive midfielders out. And we're sort of figuring out what formation we're going to play. I think this could go badly in the first week, and I guess we could talk about prediction right from that. I would say I see a 3-1 loss to New England.
And Veroni also, I think, is their striker that they're going to look to probably be the Bo replacement. Yeah, man. You know what? I was gonna go with a draw, and you know what? I'm still gonna go with a draw.
Someone's got to be. Ted,
2-2. Take the
optimism for one of us here.
Here's the thing. DC United for the past few years always seems to perform, I would say, except with the exception of 2020. 2021, 2022, when we didn't think they would be good, they somehow managed to pull a game out where they go in and they either pick up a win or they pick up an unexpected result. They get some momentum. Then the wheels kind of fall off. I think they benefit from the fact that their games aren't streamed. Their preseason games haven't been streamed. I think this is why they do it, if I had to be honest, because they want to be completely unknown as they possibly can. That's why they play FC Dallas. That's why they went to Saudi Arabia. They literally want nobody to be able to watch their games or to get any sort of tape on them about how they're going to play. And then they come out and they surprise people because coaches don't have really a game plan and they kind of have to adjust a little bit on the fly. That's my conspiracy theory for the day.
I have a cynical take on the opposite end of that. It's that they don't show those because if they stink really bad, they want to make sure that they at least get one sellout in the year, and it's the home opener. And if they are hot garbage 0-5 garbage fire, then they're like, oh, no one wants to come see this. So that's another good reason to keep it a secret. They weren't a garbage fire necessarily, as far as we know. We weren't Inter Miamiing it up. We were not losing 6-0 to various sides. So there's that. These were very on brand results for this club, like compared to where we were, right? Like it's 2-0 loss seems right. Or a 3-1. That seems reasonable.
and there are going to be people in the chat or people in the comments, Instagram, Facebook, if this team does struggle, which I think we're saying they're going to be, and I'll get into one of my specific predictions, which I'm going to tease a little bit. It involves them potentially struggling out the gate. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think what we need to ask ourselves as fans is, do we want a little bit of short-term pain for actually long-term vision, or do we want this club to do what they've always tried to do for the past few years, which has been cobble together, go out, overpay for players, and then maybe we'll be okay. Like, we'll be together, cohesive, but then it's not going to be sustainable. It's going to fall apart at the end. There's no identity, no vision, and then we recycle all the way back again. I think this is going to be as close to a cleansing restart. It's going potentially to be rough. But I think my hope is that by May, June, maybe the team starts to put together some results. They start to hum a little bit. Maybe they get a cup run in the Open Cup, though we'll get into that, all that mess that's going on in here in a little bit. That then they can start to, we can enter the next offseason saying, like, okay, we have a base built and we can move forward. That's really what this is about. This is about building a base for this club. All right, let's do it. We got some specific predictions. I am borrowing from Total Soccer Show, which they do a segment that I love, and I think I want to apply it just to DC. So here we go. John, first, very specific prediction for the season.
Steve Birnbaum will be the best defender on this club by all statistic metrics by the end of the season.
Ooh, good one. I have one, and this is coming from my research I did on Matty Peltola. Matty Peltola will lead the team in ground covered in 2024. So he will cover the most ground. You will look at the whatever they have the game maps of, like, how much a player runs using those trackers. He will be top of the list. He's going to be all over the place.
Click will be number 2, I bet you.
Yeah, I bet so.
I also predict that one of our goalkeepers will be sold by the end of the season, probably in the summer window. A club will look for an option, maybe with an injured player or something else going on, and see that we have 2 players that could certainly fill that bill.
Yeah. I have Aaron Herrera will provide the most assists on Christian Benteke's goals. So what I'm saying by this is that when you add up all of Christian Benteke's goals, they're going to be assists. They're going to be played. The ball's going to be played from Aaron Herrera. I think this team right now, especially after the way they're setting up, they're going to play very narrow. The ball's going to slip out onto the wings when they want to get whipped, and he's going to be whipping balls in. And you have one of the best players at winning the ball. I think he's going to get a lot of headed goals. And it doesn't have to be all with his head. I think he can also find him with his feet as well. So, next one. You got another one?
Ted Cutipietro will be the secondary scorer this team has needed since Taxi Funtas left, scoring 9 goals this season.
9 goals, exactly. I have this one, which I think is maybe some fans won't like. DC United will have only one win in February, March, and that one win will come against Inter Miami. Here's my thinking behind. If you look at their schedule, so we're already chalking up either a tie or a loss for Revolution. Yep. Then they're on the road against Cincy. They're on the road against Portland. Those are going to be 2 incredibly tough games. However, I think there's rumors that Messi might not even be there on the 16th. I think the other team on the list, when I looked at the list that might struggle to start the year, I think is going to be Inter Miami. They're also going to have CONCACAF Champions Cup that they're going to have to start to think about. So then they're going to be juggling those types of things, those things that are that type of tournament. And that's a tournament they want to win. So I think they're going to play a little bit of a weakened side. I think DC will see it. There'll be a packed house there. They will be looking to prove something. I think that will be the only win they'll pick up in February, March. And then it kind of goes back to a little bit back to normal. So, yep.
Last one, biggest scapegoat of the year is going to be Gabriel Pirani. Yeah, Pirani is going to be much more of a Edison Flores than a Luciano Acosta. The numbers and the advanced statistics that everyone saw last year and looked to the other side and said this team was bad, so that's why his numbers are bad. It's going to be the opposite of that. The Backhield's stance on this player being a ball mover and not a chance creator is going to be correct, and we're going to have buyer's remorse.
Do you think the team in the summer then goes out and gets a number 10, or they just ride out to the year and restarts?
I think they do. I think that they might. I think if they're looking at where they want to go from a DP perspective, that might be. It depends. I think we know that Mateus Klick and Christian Benteke are gone next year. They're going to have it's completely a blank slate on what they need to build. A 9 will be part of this because if you look at this roster, one's not there. And I think a 10, if, like, to your point, if Pirani is as I say he is, it's possible that they have to go elsewhere and spend the money.
We'll see. I find Mackay. Mackay
This
talked.
is interesting. I brought this up on the Friday show, but mention it. Say it.
Yeah, Mackay talked a lot about analytics, or talked a lot about how this is going to be an analytic-based team, and Pirani certainly doesn't fit that bill. And also, I think you were going to mention what he said there was a sort of a supporters group meet and greet. So yes, I'll let you talk about that.
So there was a question that comes up about what is Dave Casper's reach on this team still, and Mackay was still trying to make it very, very clear that it's his team now, and he said that Dave found out about the Pirani signing the way everyone else did on the internet, not because he knew that was coming, which I think is it's kind of accidentally very telling. Like, this move is now on you, bud. So now, like, there's not even you can't even be like, it was a group decision, or, I just was taking the data that I got from it. No, this is you, man. This is a player that you decided that you wanted to spend the transfer fee for. So I hope that you are right, and I hope that I am wrong. That's good. If I am right, that's super bad. I think that's, to your point, like, it's not a huge transfer fee, but it is flying in the face of, we're going to be a data first team. We looked at the data and we said, this is the move.
Yeah. I still think I don't have my group together. I don't even have the beginnings of scouting a number 10. This number 10 is here. He's cheap. If it blows up, it's like, it's not, at the end of the day, not a significant amount of money.
Right.
We still have the U22 slots to take in. I bet he knows too. He is going to. One other prediction I thought about making was, like, of the group of, like, Martin Rodriguez, Mahana Diaz, and Christian Dahome, I said 2 of them will be gone by the summer, and they will occupy the 2 international slots that they will then fill for U22 slots.
That'd be great.
Maybe I'll make that. That's a prediction I'm just going to come with on the fly. My other one is Christian Fletcher will be a regular starter by June.
Inshallah. I hope so.
Yeah. I think the fact that they are playing Stroud, and I think especially because if Stroud is the starter, you're right, he's going to be serviceable. I think it shows that the team, I think when Lesane talked about guys that, like, maybe aren't as into it, I think we can point the finger at Christian Dahome. I think Dahome is like, look, I'm on the last year of my contract. I'm not, they could exercise potentially a buyout on him. I don't think he's engaged. I think if you are Lesane, the first person off the bench is going to be Christian Fletcher. I think maybe he shows something. He starts to build up some confidence. He starts to register some goals and assists, and then he completely takes over. I would have said maybe Matei Akambone, but I think the team has brought in too much depth, and young center backs is hard. It's much harder. It's much easier to be a young attacker than it is to be a young center back, but I could be wrong.
I hope, from the standpoint that we're turning away transfer fees for that player, I hope that they do have a plan to develop him, and we're not just, sitting on him for nothing.
I think he will get sub opportunities more than last season. I think he will start to be brought in certain games, maybe when we're up. And I think the thing that gives me worried is the second goal, he plays a very soft square ball.
This is in the Dallas game.
I can't see who the player that he tried to play to, but it was not a good pass. And DC basically gets burned on the whole situation. So I think there's still maybe a little bit of rough areas that they're trying to work with him. So
watch Dahome maybe the first option off the bench for left wing back.
Watch him be the goal,
which he played sometimes, which was part of the conversation about. And if we have injuries, he will see the field.
Yeah, and I think that's where he is right now. I think it's like, look, we let's get out there. We'll let you know if we'll see if he can prove something. But I think he's one player who's going to be definitely gone.
Let's get to the bad vibes conversation.
Bad vibes. There was our specific predictions. I have mine down, John. I think you should put yours down. We will save them off somewhere, and then we'll review at the end of the year and see if we were right. I
don't want to do that because I'm going to probably be wrong. So I'm going to forget to write those down.
You might be right on the Pirani thing. I don't know.
Some listener will write them down for me. That's usually the way this works. Someone will somewhere will have it be like a bet collection service. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But as we're saying, let's we actually got, just before the show started, got the text of what this is going to be. So we talked a lot about the Saudi Arabian trip, the why, the how. We talked about the fact that this was money in the door, and we talked about that this has been in the works prior to the coach and general manager coming here, and it's also something that they want to do into the future. So there's consequences for that. I think that people felt very strongly about it. I said it on the Friday show. I was thinking about it. I knew that this protest was coming, and I was thinking, like, how did the players seem like they had a good time? The front office staff that was there seemed like they had a good time. And I was thinking, if not for a new job, the director of player personnel could have been in danger just for like being on the preseason trip. And he's probably not the only one, right? If Rory were there as like a known individual who the club has featured frequently as being like an out and proud gay guy in Washington D.C. and in MLS, and then they, Saudi Arabia, it's not a secret like about how Saudi Arabia handles situations, and how how brutal it can be in situations that are pretty benign, like Grant Wall wearing a t-shirt and all the things that sort of like that whole experience before, like that recontextualize how bad the decision making was. Like it is a place that the State Department is like, do not travel there. If you're gay, don't go there. Like it's just wild that's the place we send. Before you can sort of abstract that a little bit when you think about like, a lot of people are doing it. But then when you think about the human side of it, it's wild, and did not go unnoticed by fans, and they're having a response, at least the supporters groups.
Yeah. For home games, they will be no drums or chants, so it will be noticeable, I'm sure, in the atmosphere on the game. And I support them. That's
me too.
I think that's a good way to slice this. And I feel like we're all struggling right now with the behaviors of Major League Soccer, of MLS, of DC United right now. Especially DC fans are struggling. We're all struggling with this because many of us have been fans of this team since I've been a fan since I was a kid. I've gone to games. I still have that connection. Those connections are very hard to separate. And I feel like that's what a lot of fans are going through. It's hard to separate those, and expecting a bunch of people to just suddenly separate. I hear the pro rel crowd, all the people who yell about this type of stuff about how MLS is all about money. They all say, you should just separate. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's really not that simple. We dedicate a lot of time. We want these teams to be successful. I think there are appropriate ways to respond when they do these types of things. And I feel like if you're abandoning this, then you're abandoning, I'm sorry, the only soccer league that's been around and been successful. And we can argue about whether there's a better way to do this, but for right now, this is what we got. And yeah, it sucks in a lot of ways, but
it's a part of a thing that I've noticed, and I'm not the only one to notice this. Some other people have talked about it. Is like everything is getting worse as a sports fan in this country. Like very recently, like obviously some of them matter more than the others. The Open Cup thing, that is blatantly fan hostile decision or attempt decision making. Jerseys are getting worse in some sports. They're getting more expensive in other sports. There are issues still with streaming and consolidation of those platforms. The cost of MLS direct kick, not direct kick, I'm gonna call it direct kick. Holy crap! Season pass didn't go up, but it's still a barrier for some people. Things are just in a continual way, little by little, bit by bit, making it harder to be a sports fan, and like you're just like the relationship you have to that team becomes more and more purely one as a consumer. And it always has been to some degree, but like the artifice, the thing you construct between yourself and the product you buy has always been a story, right? You have this story of this connection, of this community, all those things. And like just a fanatics decision, a little capitalism here, a little decision to go to Saudi Arabia here. You're just like, man, it is like more and more that story that I have been telling myself I have to change. Like it has to be, maybe this doesn't have to be a central part of my identity anymore. Or like what the first thing I tell people about is that I'm a DC United fan or whatever it is, or a DC United podcaster in my particular case. And maybe it's going to be something else just because, it's harder to align those things with the way I view myself or any of it. I think it's not just soccer. It's not just us. I think you're seeing it all over the place. It's not good, Bob.
Yeah. And, you talk about, I mean, I guess the one positive thing is like the one thing I feel like you talked about kits getting worse, jerseys getting worse. I mean, at
they're
the very
all good
least
this year, by the way. The
MLS
are awesome.
Like blew it out of the water, like every single design. I mean, with maybe the exception of RSL, but I mean, I will contend. I mean, you think about 2 years ago when they tried to get everybody excited about the white kits or the clean look of the white jerseys. By the way, you can still buy that jersey if you want on no discount. I guess they're just like, we're just gonna sink a
pack
hole.
of 5 of them from Target for $14.99. I was mostly from a jersey perspective. You don't follow as close as I do, obviously, and I would expect you to. The baseball jerseys have been made by Nike via Fanatics. Everyone is mad about them. Fans are mad about them. Players are mad about them. It was clearly a decision about, maximizing profit on these things. They shrunk the letters. They ironed on everything that used to be sewn on. They moved the location. It looks, you probably haven't seen it, Ted. It looks like the giveaway T-shirt jersey they give you, and these are the ones they're giving the players to play in. And like, this is a joke. Why would they do this? And they made it more expensive. And it's just like, but it's all of a piece, right? Like, it's just like, well, how can we squeeze a little bit more out of this? Let's make this jersey cheaper, but then also charge more for it because inflation.
Yeah.
Any chance to talk about baseball jerseys being shitty? I'm going to take advantage of. It makes me crazy.
I follow a little bit of hockey, so I know the NHL is going through this as well.
It's coming. They're coming next.
Yeah, it's going to be. I just hope. I know MLS right now. You look at Fanatics and like all the DC gear is terrible. Like I look at like gifts for like my dad, for instance, and I look every year. I always check. Well, maybe there's something interesting, and I look. I'm just like, there's nothing.
It's like custom ink with DC United's logo on it. Like, it's here's just a generic brand item.
There's no soul to it. There's no and I've seen some stuff on Fanatics for other teams that looks really good. I think it's just a matter of what kind of effort is put in. Anyway, other sort of supporter news, La Banda, which I don't know if we really talked too much on the show, but they are still going to be they'll still be banned. So I think like everyone who's in that group can still attend games. They just cannot have a presence in the supporters group. And a lot of people are upset about this. I understand it. They bring a lot of heart and a lot of soul. I say the reasoning behind their ban is legitimate and justified. Guys, this is soccer. This is a sport. And
don't throw rocks at buses.
Yeah, don't throw rocks at buses. Don't do that type of stuff. It's I know we get into a lot of this sort of, banning supporters groups and we see ultra behavior and stuff like that. People can like instances where people can get hurt, like seriously hurt. That's where I think you can kind of draw the line a little bit and say, nope, that's not something we want. So nope. I love MLS for the fact that the atmospheres at stadiums can be electric in a lot of places. I think that is what has led to the growth of the game. I think it's kind of waning a little bit as far as a part of growing the sport. But I think it's still a great part of this sport, of watching this sport. Yep. New jersey, new black jersey, a new sponsor. As I think we've talked about, it looks, all the jerseys look great. I think the DC kit looks great. I'm really glad that I was worried like the pattern wouldn't really show through, but it definitely does. I don't know if it'll show through on the field, but I'm fine with it not showing on the field. We're a team that wears black. I like the way, what I love about the jersey, I do like the way the red is much more prominent. I think that should be it doesn't look like a black and white kit. It looks like a actual black and red.
Sides and bottom, unless you're buying the replica kit. And then, no, that's not the case. It doesn't have its on the sides.
It's expensive. We talked about. Guidehouse is the new sponsor. There's no more crypto, which I think a lot of us are very happy about. 5 years, $7.5 million.
Is it since they announced the ending of the DC United partnership? Is that what shot it up? People are like,
I don't know.
Finally not associated with garbage soccer team.
It was kind of, but it shoots up basically as soon as they announced at the year that they sort of announced the sponsorship. Then it kind of went right back down. Crypto is something that is crashing. So if I never hear the words XDC again, I will be very, very happy. All right, let's get into some league-wide news. Let's talk about this news. This is why, if you're watching on the video version, I am wearing my referee jersey for the MLS referee shirt.
I didn't know that was a referee shirt. I thought you were just wearing a green polo because I couldn't see the button things. That's blocked. I couldn't see that.
Oh yeah, I couldn't see that. I was
like, hey, cool.
It doesn't. I
was expecting black and white stripes like a high school basketball.
You watch refereeing. You should know what kits
sometimes
they wear.
They're pink. Sometimes they're different colors.
I could have grabbed. I grabbed the green one. I got a bunch of colors sitting right there.
Do the whistle next time. You got a whistle that you can.
I was debating whether I could wear the patch. I was like, I don't want to wear the patch. I don't want to get in trouble. They've got some particular rules, but I wanted to show some solidarity here with the referees because we're gonna have replacement referees, guys. This will either go. I think there are two ways. This will either be fine 2014, they talked about how there was like an increase in mistakes. And my argument is that, well, mistakes can be, there's varying degrees. Soccer, like mistakes are going to happen by the referees all the time. They're going to make a missed call. It's going to happen just about every game. It's the degree of those mistakes that can be the difference. So if they're counting like an increase in mistakes being, well, sometimes they call it a throw in wrong, or sometimes maybe they call it a foul in the middle of the field wrong. You know what? That's not really somewhat of a big deal. So
they were talking about concussion protocol stuff not being followed the right way. That was their big thing that they were drawing out as a thing. And that's fine. To your point, so you said that one way it could go is it could go fine, or what? It could go really horribly.
Or it could be Fail Mary NFL territory, which if you're unfamiliar or maybe too young, because it has happened a while. It's been a while. I don't know. I guess 10 years. It's been 10 years. I can't remember when the NFL referee strike was. But basically in a game between I think it was the Seahawks and the Packers, I think there was a Hail Mary play at the end of the game that was very clearly intercepted and would have been called intercepted. But you had two referees go in. One said touchdown and the other one said interception. And they went with the touchdown play. And it sort of galvanized and it gave the referees at the time what they wanted, which was a massive mistake that sort of forced the NFL back to the table. So for those of you who maybe not be aware, there was a tentative agreement. It looked like all this was kind of settled. But that tentative agreement, and apparently according to the PSRA, it wasn't really an agreement. It was, all right, we're just going to take this offer. We don't agree to it or anything. We're going to put it to a vote. And 95.8% rejected. And so as a response, Pro has locked out the rest release. This did include some revenue increases. It's like 15. I find the range is really interesting. It's like 75 to 104% for assistant referees. So that's significant.
Yep.
And then it's like 15 to 100% for video referees.
So there must be some video official referees that are not taking money, like that are like volunteer referees.
I guess so.
Because that's the only way it could be. I doubt it. They're just doubling their salary.
Yeah. Increased fees for the regular season. An increase. There's a bunch of 7% for match fees, a bunch of different things. They also will get first in business class. The proposal was first in business class for the playoffs and MLS Cup. And I think also they said decision day in 2027, 2028. And again, this is where I think this is where, according to what we've read, I think that's what the referees mostly were like, come on, you can give us first in business class for.
It seemed to me like it was about scheduling. It's about quality of life stuff. So that's part of that is travel, but part of that is like, when do I get to come in? Like how early can I get into the games so that I'm not flying in the day of? I originally saw these numbers and I was like, well, I don't really know what they were hoping for or expecting. But then when I see a 96% reject of the proposal, it puts me much more in the camp like, all right, well, so clearly things are very bad for referees here. That they would not have done that because I think it says two things. One, things are not good. And two, that a lot of these people are not making all their like life money from refereeing because of this. They're having to like have other jobs. They're not. Some people usually will sign a bad deal sometimes when they're in an economic precarity situation or don't have money. Have money coming in whatever. But I feel like this is like a resounding thing saying we want to make this our full-time profession. We want to make sure that we're doing our best and improving. And this doesn't get it done. The thing I am concerned about from their perspective is that things go fine with the replacement referees. That tends to chip away at your leverage you have in these conversations. In the NFL's case, it fell all into the referees, the union's hands because it went so poorly. When the baseball strike happened and they had scab players for a very short time and it wasn't very good, same story there. I'm just hoping. I'm not hoping because I don't want the games to be horrible, but I am hoping that this does not go so dramatically against them where they find themselves wishing that they had this deal that they turned down.
VAR mess up VAR trained. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, no games are being canceled. They're all going to use these replacement referees. I think they're also pulling some from the upper reaches of the NCAA. I'll be curious to read the list, and I'll be curious to maybe research some of these guys that are coming in. One thing I want to add is I feel like a lot of people are looking at this, and they are a lot of them. Number one, I've seen responses of people who, like your initial response, that were like, hey, this is a pretty good deal. I don't know what else you all were expecting. Number two, I've seen people say, well, they can't get any worse. I'm like, well, yes, it can. We're not the referees. We don't do this job. We don't interact with this. we have a lot of us have no basis to look at this and say this is a good deal or this is the best they can get. These referees, I feel like in a lot of this nature, it's been very interesting to watch some of the reactions of people when they talk about this and just how much they feel like the referees should just take what they can get. And we would never say this about the players. We would always want the players. And it like, we need to start treating these respect. And if we treat these referees better, if we make it a more viable profession, if we help grow it, if we make it better for them, then maybe they will do better. Like,
and then if they don't, you can toss them out. If they suck, then right, if they're flying first class everywhere and they're making like commensurate wages with international refereeing and they suck, then they got to go. So it's like if you pay them, if the expectations are professional, then the conduct is professional and the output is professional. I think the struggle, like the point you made, you have a different lens because of your
I've actually done it, and it's hard.
It's hard. The challenge for fans is no one watches MLS or any sport for the referees. They're the requirement for the thing to happen. But like, it's almost, they only exist insofar as they make you mad, right? It's like if you've noticed a referee, if you know their name, it's usually a bad thing. You're not like, I love Greg. I love watching him referee. His matches are always wonderful, unless you're a referee yourself, and then you're like, you get it. You get, but everyone else in the world, like, oh my God, it's that guy again. He sucks. So it's hard. Like I think that certainly explains the differential in like how they're being treated, and it sucks from their perspective. And also, it's like playing soccer without the soccer ball. Like it is in fact a requirement for the game to exist and proceed. So they got to figure out how to be consistent about that, or a little bit more consistent anyway.
Yeah, and you're right. I view it through a lens. I just for someone like me, I don't know what people expect. Like I really that's where it really gets me. And I was having a conversation with somebody, and he was showing support. He's like, "Yeah, well, I don't think they're that great," and I'm like, number one, let's talk about these guys are humans, so they're going to make mistakes. They have an incredibly difficult job. The laws as themselves written right now are a mess. It's an absolute mess right now. Handling is all over the place. IFAB has completely screwed it up in my mind. They have made it so difficult now to figure out what's handling, what's not, that it's always going to be inconsistent. They have not done the referees any favors. I think when you look at it, the quality of refereeing in MLS has gotten better. It's just nobody wants to look at it because they're all going to talk about, well, this call in this game, it was 50-50 and the referee went with this decision. I think that was a wrong decision and they screwed my team. That's what everybody's going to think. So I think this is a lose-lose as far as that's what everybody's going to think. No one thinks refereeing is getting better. These guys who make that level have to go through incredible amounts of scrutiny. They have to go through numerous times, even just to advance from where I am, which is right now grassroots referee. I'm right at the bottom of the barrel. I am not going to be refereeing professional games anytime soon. I don't have any desire to do that right now in this point in my life. I'm happy just to go out there, do my high school, do my rec and some of my other games. But those even just to jump up a level, I have to, just to give you a sense of like what I have to do. I have to, number one, I have to go referee adult level games. So 90 minutes, adult level games. I do a center, and I have to have assessments for that center. I also have to pass a fitness test. I have to run like a 7-minute mile. So I have to pass the fitness test. There's different camps you have to go to where you get assessments. And then you have to keep that up, even just to stay at that level. You have to keep that up year after year. So right now, if I lived in Lynchburg, I would have to travel to Richmond on a Sunday, go and do adult level sort of, Sunday league type games in order to keep so it is incredibly stressful that these people go through it. And again, what always frustrates me is none of them want to go out. No one here wants to go out and do it. They all want to criticize. They don't want to actually go out and do it. So
it's called thankless for a reason.
Yeah,
Ed.
Exactly. I don't know. It gets me on the thing. I think we should support the referees. I stand with them. I hope they get the good deal. I hope that everybody's safe, but I hope this weekend shows, I hope maybe this gives some moment. There's some moment where they say, wow, maybe maybe Ted Uncle's not that bad. Maybe he actually does do some good things because, this scab they brought in is just not cutting it today. So
I want Christian Benteke to grab the ball and throw it in the net like he's playing European handball, and then the replacement ref to say it's okay, and then we win 1-0. That's what I want to happen.
We'll see. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then, of course, so again,
keeping up with the bad vibe central.
Bad vibe central. We all thought the U.S. Open Cup drama was stopped. I have had, God bless the guy that runs the cup.us, but he has been saying, look, it's, U.S. Soccer denied it. We're going forward. Apparently that's not been the case. Apparently MLS is sort of digging their heels in, and they are saying, we are not competing. We are not doing this as we always do it. They are basically, from what we've heard, holding the U.S. Open Cup hostage. And this was on the Hudson River Blue. I have to find the article of the person who wrote it, and I just found it up. But go check that out. Go to Hudson River Blue, read it. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. More specifically, that U.S. Soccer has talked about canceling the tournament as a whole. And in fact, the USL had an emergency meeting where they said it looks really bleak. There's been some proposals that have put out. There's been some talk about sharing gate receipts with MLS. So basically, if DC were to travel to Richmond, they would get 40% of those gate receipts. So they are pulling out all the stops to.
Again, capitalism wins, man. The spirit of the cup is dead.
Yeah,
we're gonna get our money out of this.
Yeah, apparently MLS says they only want 8 teams to participate. So I guess that would be what the 8 teams that didn't make the playoffs. I don't know how they determined that.
We're in, baby.
I don't know how they determined that. There is, and I think what they've also tried to basically, we'll have 8 teams in the tournament. If you recall at one point, and I don't know if you do, I think around 2011, it used to be not all teams were in the tournament proper in MLS. There was like a qualifying tournament where they kind of had like a quick knockout game. And then the winners of those knockout games then made it to the actual tournament proper. And then the teams that finished high enough in the standings were also in it. So it was a very different sort of setup for the tournament. This is bad vibes central. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, wanting U.S. Soccer to pull their Division I sanctioning. Apparently, the Hudson River Blue article seems to indicate that this would aid the NASL in their antitrust lawsuit. And I think that is the primary focus of why U.S. Soccer is nervous, because the remnants of the NASL are watching this with bated breath, because this is we'll get into a little bit when we talk about women's soccer, about some of the things that I think are kind of trying to build their case.
Right.
That yes, our division sanctionings are fine. Don't worry about it.
The Open Cup is not worth it to U.S. Soccer to have everything else fall apart. Like they love the cup, but it's still, I think, costs them more money than it makes. So from their perspective, like, well, we're going to cut this then. I don't want an ASL to be able to sue us into oblivion. So whoops, fine, whatever you want, MLS.
Yeah, and they're in a tough shop. Yeah, MLS has the money, they have the weight, they have the financial weight. They want to do this Leagues Cup thing. Everybody talks about how it's money. I feel like there should be a solution here, and the obvious solution is MLS needs to. I just don't understand why MLS is so hesitant.
The fix is so easy.
Open up your rosters.
Open up your rosters just for U.S. Open Cup game, just for the Open Cup. Say you extend your roster to 32. You can bring in academy players. You can bring on whatever the deal, and then that's it. But they don't lose any other provisioning. They don't have to be paid throughout the year. They don't need benefits. None of those things. Short term. Emergency loans, basically. And then let the team play it how they want to. If they use the end of their roster against a reasonable USL championship club, they're probably going to lose. Like, that's not like if you're drawn up against, if it's Flower City or whatever, like maybe not. But there's a certain standard if you get drawn to them. If you don't take it seriously, you'll lose, and that's fine.
It's clear this is retribution from Major League Soccer. I think this is retribution from what happened with the original deal, where they're like, well, we're going to put our US next pro teams in there, and that's what we're going to do. And U.S. Soccer was like, no, you're not going to do that. We deny that request. And like, oh, okay, then we're going to make it exceedingly difficult. We really do not want our team. We tried to be nice.
That was us being nice to you.
That was us being nice to this tournament. Now we're going to get upset. So
now we're going to destroy it.
Yeah, it's bad. I hate it. And at this point, it's like, we'll wait and see. This story is getting very interesting. I'll be curious to see. There was a lot of fervor when MLS originally announced this. I'll be curious to see if that type of fervor returns, and there are people upset about it. So, All right, we don't have much Washington Spirit news to discuss. Really, nothing. Kang I believe, has now finalized the purchase of Olympic Lyons, the female, the women's team. No, she has said no major brand changes, no changes right now. She wants to get, I think, a training center built for them. She wants to have a better situation for them. Sorry.
Don't worry, Leon. You've got 2 seasons before you're going to be highlighter yellow.
Black and yellow. Yeah, we'll have kits. We'll have a kit reveal soon for the Spirit. It's not going to look good. But we did have some sort of pretty interesting news in regards to women's soccer. The USL Super League, which is going to be their women's league, originally supposed to be a D2 league, but they've decided to go after Division I sanctioning, and US Soccer has granted it to them. Again, conspiracy hat for me goes on. I feel like, yes. So right now there is a team going to be in Washington, D.C. They are probably going to play in Loudoun, which is very, very far. Very, very far from Washington, D.C. So they will not be playing at Audi Field. I think this is part of aiding their antitrust lawsuit that says, look, like, if you meet the standards, and we say you meet the standards, we have no problem with 2 Division I leagues, NESL. You just did not meet the standards. So,
Silliness.
Go home. Go home.
I would love it all is going to come down to what these rosters look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I said somewhere, I think it might have been on Discord, like if they are pulling players that couldn't make NWSL rosters in Loudoun, they're going to draw like 250 people a game, and 100 of them are going to be friends and family of the players. So this is all sort of kind of silly, I think. At least if you're looking at cities that have multiple professional soccer teams located in them, I don't know what you're hoping to accomplish. It just seems like a strange decision to do. Although, I mean, let's give them a chance. Let's see what they come up with. This is, from my understanding, this team is also partially owned by Affirm Sports, which owns Loudoun United. So it's a coalition. That's why they're probably at Segra potentially. I just want to see what these rosters look like. That's what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
If they sign a bunch of like college players that couldn't get drafted, it is a Division I league in name only, right? It's nothing else about it is Division I when you look at NWSL.
Yeah, and it'd be curious to see. I think what a lot of people have said. I think if this league had come out 2-3 years ago, I think you would, and they got some money behind it and some investment behind it. I could have seen them maybe pulling some big names away from, Kristen Press. Let's get you out of Chicago here, or let's get you out of the mess that was Chicago at the time, and let's get you onto one of our teams. We'll treat you well. We want you there.
USL should have launched immediately when the Athletic report came out.
Oh yeah,
they should have just press release out we're starting next week, guys. we're gonna go next week. And
now you've seen the league truly was struggling for investment as well. But now you've seen a lot of that change. Teams are now getting their own stadiums. The NWSL is now on such a strong footing. I think this was. I wonder sometimes whether this was US. They went to US Soccer, what it would take to be Division I, and they were like, you know what, put forward your best effort, make it look good. We're going to give you D1 sanctioning. This will help us in a number of ways of showing that we actually
nothing to do with this women's soccer at all in any way, but it is in fact helps us. For sure.
I think they're going to start off. I think, like you said, unless they pull off some sort of huge heist and they grab a player that maybe we weren't expecting, then we'll see. But I think eventually that league is then going to say, okay, we're going to go back and be a D2 league. We're totally,
and that'd be fine, and that's good. I would love, and it would be great if NWSL teams could have reserve teams in those leagues, similar to the USL. Whatever, who cares? Adrian Gonzalez, assistant coach of the Washington Spirit, has finally arrived in California for training, so that's good. Now they actually have a coach that will be there long term and is actually a real coach for them. So it's still been, there's not much going on out there in California. It's been raining. Camp continues. They still have, I think, when's first kick for the Spirit? Do we know that?
March.
First week?
Yeah.
Is it March?
This is really good. Really good stuff.
Yeah. We've been Googling.
We've been in DC mode for a while. March 17th is kickoff that we on the road against Seattle Reign.
Almost a whole month. Either preseason games also listed on there. I believe there are a couple that they've got planned. I don't believe any of them are available to the open
or streamed
media or streamed, because apparently that's, again, who would want to do that? Certainly not podcasters. Would hate that.
What I feel like MLS and WSL should do, and maybe it's just too expensive. come up with like 4 satellite camps. You know how they do the media day and everything? They do like the media day. Combine that with some preseason games. Get like a whole MLS fest to welcome everybody back. Move the teams there, cover it so no one has to pay for it, and just show something to like get some people excited about like the games. Have some interviews, try some new things with your Apple TV broadcast. That might be worth trying.
That would have been. You could have local podcasters do like a small segment of the game.
Do a fan zone thing, like go crazy.
Who knows? What the article I read that was like the quality is so poor often in the preseason that the only thing that was coming out of video broadcasting the preseason games was clips of horrible goalkeeper mistakes in preseason, and then that just being the joke. And they'd be like, "We paid to have this negative free media, basically." And they're like, "You know what? Screw it. There's only 250 people want to watch us anyway. It's all downside risk for us. It's nothing's up, and it's." Listen, Ted, I agree with you, man. I want it too. I'd watch all of them. I'm watching college baseball, Ted. I clearly have a gap in my sports watching life. I would love to be watching MLS preseason. I watched all of the stupid Inter Miami games because it was on Apple TV and it was available. But it's just it's something we want, but it doesn't make dollars and cents. So it doesn't happen.
But I mean, maybe NWSL can do the same. I know they kind of have the Challenge Cup as kind of their big preseason thing. That's now no more. So I don't know. Just like just get the teams in one location. You can do your media stuff. You can do a lot of that stuff, and you can also combine it with some games.
One of the camps can be in Saudi Arabia. A quarter of the teams want to go there anyway.
I don't know. Maybe we'll see that change for both leagues. But all right, folks, I think that's going to do it. We got an hour-long show.
Yep, hour-long show. Album recommendation thing I'm starting. I did it on the Friday show. I'm doing it now. The album is People Who Aren't There Anymore by Future Islands. It just came out last week. It's really good. If you haven't heard Future Islands before, they're a Baltimore band. They've been around forever. If you haven't heard of them, just look Future Islands Dave Letterman and watch the performance of a song, like I think of 2 albums ago. That should make you a fan, I think. That's all I'll say.
A very astute recommendation, and I feel like you're paying homage to the Washington Spirit team, which has several people that are no longer there anymore.
That's gonna be the episode title now. People who aren't there anymore.
All right, folks. Thank you guys so much for listening again. Patreon.com/RFPrefugees. We're still like hacking out some content. I've got a piece. Just to give you a little teaser, I'm going to have a whole preseason piece. I've already asked for a prediction from John and the guy and Brian as well to get some predictions out. More your generic golden boot assist type predictions, but also have some discussion and just some overall thoughts on how I think the team is going to do and some things to watch for this year. So definitely, if you kind of like have been away from the team, for some of you, it might just be old news, you guys that use sickos, but if you've kind of been dipping in and out, maybe you haven't been paying attention to everything, I think it's maybe a good refresher on what to expect for the team.
All I need to remember is the time I went to a game at the beginning of, I think, last season, and someone was like, "Where's Bill Hamid?" And I was like, "Man, you gotta reiterate for folks, they are not paying attention as much as you think they are." So
yeah, and that should also be the notion of why MLS thinks they can get away with stuff that they're getting away with right now, and why DC thinks they can get away with the stuff they're getting away with right now.
Short memories.
Thank you guys again. We'll be back next week with an actual game to watch and some analysis. So it should be fun. Vamos.